Hi everyone, this is Paul here for the Magdalene Centre. Today I'm doing the astrology report for the Sun's transit through Libra. I'll be outlining some of the key themes and aspects that will take place during the next month and give a basic overview of what it all means for us. Before I do that though, I just want to clarify, as I always do, that the astrology doesn't control our lives. It merely gives us a framework to help us understand what kind of lessons are available to learn at this time, what kind of themes are unfolding around us and what is the energy doing, and what can we learn from the current transits so that we can then grow from them. But we actually have to participate in the process though for anything to change or for us to grow and evolve from it. It doesn't just happen to us, we actually have to participate in the process. So with the Sun's transit through Libra, this is a time of balancing. So in the astrological wheel, Libra is the seventh sign. It's the first one that's above the horizon, and a particular effect that we often notice with this is that because Libra is above the horizon, it's seen as out there, so it's a sign where we may be very liable to projecting unconscious elements of ourselves onto other people, because Libra rules the other. So a key theme for us all to be working on during the Sun's transit through Libra is acknowledging where we engage in projection. It's recognising where, instead of trying to balance our own light and our own shadow inside us, we rely on projecting our shadow qualities onto other people in order to see them or to try and resolve it. But for true resolution to take place, we actually have to reclaim the projections and take them inside us again and bring balance between the light, our inner light and our inner shadow. So a key element for this month will be paying attention to the way we interact with other people and how we feel in different people's presence, because each and every one of us mirror back to one another different qualities about ourselves. So for some people, when we're in their presence, being around them feels good and they inspire us with their example, and these are the people who are reflecting back the higher level qualities or abilities and potential within us that we, for whatever reason, we haven't developed it so far, but we have the potential to do it, and this person is showing or providing an example of what we ourselves have the potential to achieve. Whilst on the other end of the scale, we've got people who, when we're in their presence, we just feel that instinctive gut reaction towards them, that dislike or something, but rarely is it about the person themselves. Quite often it's a case of the person who triggers this feeling within us, they're comfortable expressing a certain facet of their personality which we ourselves are not, we don't feel particularly proud or happy about within us. We're not comfortable acknowledging that side of us. So to try and resolve it, we rely on projecting it onto the other person so we can pretend we don't have the same. But whilst we're doing this, we never actually deactivate those triggers. We never overcome the tendency to react to things at a gut level. So for us to actually change that, it's a case of observing our interactions with other people, and especially when we have a negative reaction, it's taking a moment to, rather than instinctively judging the other person, it's taking a moment to breathe and ask, why do I feel that way in this person's presence? What is it about that person that triggers something? And is it something, are they reflecting an element of ourselves back to us that we're not proud of and that we feel ashamed of for some reason? But in order for us to actually transform that, we have to own it. And it's only through owning our own projections and reclaiming them that we can achieve another element of Libra that most people are familiar with, which is peace and harmony. So a key challenge for us all during this month is to, instead of projecting our shadow onto other people, so it becomes almost like a seesaw dynamic where the other person is acting as a counterbalance because they're where we're hooking our projections onto, it's become more like the balance scales of Libra. It's bringing the shadow side within us and acknowledging its presence there and balancing it with our own light. So the scales have become still, we achieve an inner stillness because the shadow side is no longer triggered by other people because we've accepted it. And by achieving this internal balance, we can achieve a certain degree of detachment and an ability to observe things objectively, because Libra is the first of the objective signs as well. So this is going to be a key area for us all to work on, is for acknowledging our own shadow and bringing it into balance with our light side through accepting it and embracing our shadow. And when this inner balance is achieved, then we achieve true peace, where we're at peace with ourselves, so what's going on around us doesn't have any power over us to pull us out of that feeling of peace. Now Libra at this time of year is also the time of the harvest. So 6 months ago at the spring equinox, we had taking all the action without really knowing the outcome of how it would unfold, because that depends on us turning up every day and keeping projects going. So now with Libra showing us the net results of that, now's the time for weighing up situations and using the judgment of Venus in Libra. So Venus is the ruler of Libra here, and she rules our ability to evaluate information and come to a sound judgment. So basically during this time, it's see what lessons do we have to learn from the actions that we took earlier in the year, how have things progressed, and what can we learn from it. And from there it's then making wiser choices. So it's not rushing ahead to make choices right now, it's more paying attention to what we're harvesting, seeing what experiences, what wisdom are we garnering from the actions that we've taken so far, and how can we use this wisdom to guide our actions for the future. So what can we learn from it, what can we recognise that we need to do differently in the future, and then make those necessary changes so that we can grow and evolve and develop that wisdom, that balanced perception. And it's also understanding the interconnected nature of things, because Libra is like the effect to the cause. Aries is the action to the cause. Libra highlights the effects to us. So if we don't like the effects being mirrored back to us, then we really need to change the actions that we're taking in the first place. Otherwise, if we keep taking the same action, we'll keep rendering the same results. So this is a time for, it's like a cosmic rebalancing for everything. So it's learning what went well, what didn't go so well, and from the things which didn't manifest as we would like or failed altogether, what can we learn from it, and how can we then apply this wisdom and gain through the hard work at a later date, so that we see things from a more holistic perspective. We've seen the end result, and it's looking to see how can we achieve a balanced and objective mindset. Libra is a cardinal sign though, so this means it is a sign that needs to take action, and it's probably just as well, because with Libra being about trying to find the balance between two perspectives, if it was mutable like Virgo, we'd probably never be able to make a decision in the first place. So Libra is learning to accept other points of view, accept other truths by listening to each other, rather than just reacting or believing that we're the only ones who know the truth, or what everyone else is saying is incorrect. It's developing the tact and diplomacy of Libra through learning to listen, to see or acknowledge that another point of view which is diametrically opposed to ours may also be valid, because the truth by nature is often paradoxical. It has two sides to it, and we can only see the whole truth by recognising the truth that someone else is presenting to us, even when it seems fundamentally opposed to our own truth. Both truths are equally valid. No one individual has all the truth or knows everything, so we need to be able to learn to listen to one another and respect each other's perspectives, because it's only through sharing our own perspectives, it's only through honouring our own truth and honouring the truth of another person that the wider truth can be made known to us, and we can start moving back towards unity through recognising the unifying principles underpin everything. But we have to do the initial work of Libra through first reclaiming our projections before this can happen. Now this year is going to be a bit unusual in the sense that on the equinox itself we have the Sun opposed Chiron retrograde. So this is exact on the equinox, so this is going to be a powerful demonstration of the polarity between self and other. And with Chiron retrograde, it's further highlighting where we have a wounded sense of self, which can then cause us to go too far in the Libran direction, where we're trying to gain a sense of identity through other people. So one thing we need to be mindful with Libra is that at all times we need to stay true to who we are. For true balance to emerge in relationships and true peace, harmony, equality to emerge, it's important that we stay true to who we are in the process, but we acknowledge the truth of the other person, we embrace it and we honour it, and make sure that both parties are honoured equally in the relationship, whether this relationship be romantic, marriage, is it's between friendships, between business partners. If we want peace, harmony and cooperation to emerge, then it's vitally important that we stay true to who we are whilst honouring the truth of the other person. And if we can do this and overcome the tendency to judge or react instinctively to perceptions that oppose ours, then we can achieve more harmonious interactions with one another. The spirit of cooperation and harmony can unfold between people and within groups, and this then enables synergy to be unlocked, where we recognise that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. In any given relationship, the relationship dynamics is greater than just the two individuals together. It's recognising that if we can work together, if we can put aside our differences and recognise our common ground, whilst obviously honouring the differences so we don't just try and achieve unity through conformity or uniformity, if we can learn to share, to operate in this attitude of mutuality, mutual love, we can achieve a social ease with one another where we embrace each other as we are and we embrace ourselves as we are. So it's the old dictate of love yourself and love one another, or treat others as you would wish to be treated. And this is the first step, if you like, towards personal transformation, is acknowledging our shadow before we go through the Pluto season of transforming the shadow through spiritual alchemy. But one thing that can help with this in this time is astrology is a reflection, especially the Sun's transit. It helps us, it reflects the natural cycles, and therefore if we learn to sync up with the natural cycles here on Earth as well, this in turn helps us to understand the cycles that the astrology is highlighting to us. So if you look at nature, things are naturally starting here in the Northern Hemisphere, because we're going into autumn. The energy is naturally being withdrawn from external movement and into the internal environment. So by observing nature and working in harmony with its rhythms, we can follow the natural progress of the energies, we can follow the natural progress of consciousness, and we would naturally find ourselves seeking to turn inwards now and start that inner transformation where we bring balance to our own light and shadow, and through doing this we achieve a holistic sense of self, and it also means that we can more easily respect and honour the people around us and live our lives in a spirit of peace and harmony and cooperation. But it requires that we do the work on ourselves first. Peace is not something that can be forced. It's something that has to emerge through inner work, through transforming the self, which then sends out a new level of energy or new vibration, if you like, which potentially invites other people to take that same step, or to be drawn into our peace rather than we be drawn into their chaos. We have to achieve that inner peace first rather than trying to force it on the outside. Otherwise it's a constant juggling act, and we end up with scales that are swinging wildly out of control, and we end up swinging from one extreme to another. The point of the scales is to be completely balanced and in the middle. If we can do that internally, then it manifests externally as well as an atmosphere of peace and harmony, where we feel at ease no matter what is going on, and we no longer feel like we have to try and, or we're no longer projecting stuff onto other people because we've made peace with our own shadow. So in terms of the aspects this week, we've got, or during the Sun's transit through Libra, we've got a few squares. The first is going to be to Vesta and Saturn at the same time pretty much, and that's on 26th. We also have a square later on to Pluto on the 12th, so this is obviously going to bring challenges between the need to honour ourselves in relationships, but also to work on personal integrity, so living the life that is right for who we are, because sometimes we have to make choices for ourselves in order to stay true to who we are, that not everyone is going to like it, but the only way we can have a healthy relationship is by being true to who we are and having that personal integrity. And we've also got a trine to Mars in the first week of the Sun's transit through Libra, so this brings an opportunity for our actions and a sense of identity to be in alignment, but it also means that we need to make sure that our desires, which fuel our action, are guided by our own personal wisdom and are aligned with the self, rather than the self being affected by the ego and being drawn out of the soul self and into the ego through desire. So there's quite a lot more going on, but the key, obviously we've got the full moon, which is the harvest moon, 2 days into the Sun's transit through Libra. This is going to be a particularly powerful full moon because it really highlights to us what we've reaped from the actions that were sown. So this is a key and very powerful full moon that there'll be another video on it because there's too much going on around it to explain all of it, but it's got a lot of aspects to it, and it's really going to highlight to us what we need to learn from what went well and what didn't go well. And it also highlights that essential balance that the Libra, or the Aries Libra axis highlights to us, which is the need to be true to oneself but acknowledge and respect the truth of other people, so that truly healthy relationships can emerge where both parties remain true to who they are, whilst both parties honour the truth of the other person. Whilst we have the new moon in Libra on the 9th, and this new moon is obviously an opportunity for us to set new intentions around cultivating greater inner balance or inner harmony, achieving more peace and diplomacy in our relationships, and seeing where can we learn to operate, if we haven't already, in a spirit of harmony and cooperation with one another, so that working as in cooperation as groups or as pairs of people or individuals, depending on how we choose to operate, is seeing how can we work through an attitude of teamwork rather than as a bunch of individuals who are all doing their own thing towards the same goal but not necessarily helping one another out. So there's a lot to take on board there, but I hope it's a useful guide for the Sun's transit through Libra. With nothing else, the main thing to take away from the Sun's transit through Libra is to overcome our tendency to project our issues onto other people, and to take that inner road into our own shadow, to honour it and accept it for as it is, and bring it into balance with our own light. Because through doing this, we achieve inner balance and inner harmony, and this inner balance, peace and harmony then permeates our relationships with other people, and we achieve a much more holistic sense of self that recognises our interrelatedness whilst honouring our unique self at the same time. And if we can all do this shadow work and learn to embrace an attitude of harmony and cooperation while staying true to oneself, then things can transform rapidly for the better, and a lot of unnecessary conflict can be avoided through being willing to work with one another rather than against, and to learn whatever lessons we can from how the goals we set early in the year have ultimately manifested now. So I hope the Sun in Libra transit brings you many insights and many blessings. Take care, and may you be blessed.